generation. Agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is just about now leaving the island after a visit to hold bilateral talks with the Prime Minister Andrew Holness to discuss matters of common interest to Jamaica and this Trump administration running things in the United States. We'll join our ace reporter Ramon. We'll invite him here to talk about what was essentially the crux of that conversation between those two men. And the opposition PNP, they called a press conference to rebut what they said were misleading claims made by the Finance Minister as she closed the budget debate inside Gordon House on Tuesday. Mark Golding saying that the implied budget is a straw man that the government has used to beat the PNP. Jamaicans should not be fooled. We'll hear more from him. Plus, we'll hear from the president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Metri Siaga, about the PSOJ's impression of the recent budget debate to which the country was privy. All that in half an hour or less right here on Lead Story today. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. So as I told you, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was in town for talks with the Jamaica Prime Minister Andrew Holness and of course the leaders of Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. You know, the Caribbean is referred to as the USA's third border. We have been very important geopolitically and strategically. And Rubio is saying today that Jamaica is the USA's most like-minded partner in the Caribbean. That is diplomatic speak, putting Jamaica above the other Caribbean nations. And of course, it's always good to speak well of your hosts when you are in their living room. And Rubio was quite effusive diplomatically in his praise for Jamaica. But what did they say substantively that will move the needle forward in terms of the interaction between both countries and a common understanding of where their shared interests lie? I turn to Ramon Gordon for that information. Welcome to Lead Story again, Ramon.
Thank you always for having me, George, and a very good evening to all our viewers at home. The CVM News team were at location at the Norman Manley International Airport this morning. It's a historic day. Cuban-American Marco Rubio, it's his first visit to the island as U.S. Secretary of State. Like you said earlier, we found out that the conversation centered weaning Caribbean islands off their dependence on Venezuelan oil. It's likely one of the more controversial pitches. And also he talked about collaborations to stem illegal migration, narcotics and gun trafficking in the region. We were on location quite early. The plane landed an hour after the fact. No fault of their own, of course. They came down, they greeted the Jamaican diplomats, among them the Jamaican Foreign Affairs Minister, the Chief Technical Director of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, she's Ambassador Sharon Miller. So many high-powered people in one place. He didn't spend much time speaking with the reporters. He was quickly spirited away to the office of the Prime Minister, where he outlined plans to collaborate further with Jamaica and strengthen our bilateral relations. Our senior reporter, Nika Lewis, is on location at OPM, and I'm excited for her to share the initiatives that the Secretary announced.
One question, Ramon, someone asked me earlier, and I found it to be a quite curious question to ask, because I'm saying, I don't know the answer to that one. They say, what kind of plane did Mr. Rubio come into the island in?
Well, we know it's a private jet.
I'm not going to say that man doesn't travel commercial.
Absolutely not.
It's not us.
No.
He's not like us.
No, not like us. Not Air Force One, but definitely comes with the pomp and the circumstance. It did present much authority.
Yeah. How quickly, you said it was a whistle-stop conversation with journalists. About how much time do you estimate he spent actually conversing with journalists before moving to Jamaica House?
Oh, he didn't converse with journalists at all. His delegation, they disembarked before him. It took some time for him to get off the plane. He came off. did his greetings, went right to the car. He didn't even stop by the press pit, which I understand because, like I said, the plane was delayed by an hour. But very efficient, very to the point.
Yes.
Like you said, he's probably off the island by now.
Yes, and of course you say the meat on the bone that you have put on the table were provided by Nika Lewis in the newscast at 7.
Exciting stuff. The audience needs to stay tuned.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ramon. So we have been told, editorial note, that Marco Rubio actually leaves on Thursday. So he's spending the night here in Jamaica. Good on him that he is enjoying the Jamaican hospitality, and he'll be off for further talks with Caribbean leaders elsewhere in this region on Thursday. Thank you, Ramon. All the best as usual.
Take care.
All right. We take a break. When we come back, more on Lead Story.
Time of year again to shop amazing deals at Maxi Kingston's annual spring sale. Shop now and save up to 80% off store-wide on clothing, shoes, home decor, and accessories. Shop with us from March 24th to the 29th at our Springs Plaza or Red Hills Road location. See you soon. Conditions apply.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. We've got everything. Stocking top brands like CNCs, Philips, and Allen Bradley. We guarantee quality and reliability. Shop with us and save with even free island-wide delivery. Conditions apply. Visit us at Shop 8 Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in electrical business.
Back with us here on Lead Story. So the opposition leader Mark Golding, in the company of his opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson and his spokesman on education Senator Damian Crawford, held court this morning speaking to journalists about matters coming out of the budget debate. Golding, displeased with what he said was the mischaracterization and the misleading information presented by the Finance Minister Faithful Williams when she closed the budget debate on Tuesday. He was he took particular issue with this concept of an implied budget which Mrs. Williams presented and which she gave costing to. She says in the absence of a PNP costing its own plans, then she took the liberty to put dollar figures to the PNP's plans to show the Jamaican people the difference in approach between the respective parties. And while the Holness budget, which has been approved, will lead to a small surplus, the PNP's budget, as outlined by Mark Golding, to which she had to put the costing to, would leave us in about $200 billion where the deficit is concerned. Golding reacted to those things earlier today.
The minister tried to make out that what we were proposing in our presentations was an implied budget. That is not what we were doing, and we never said that we were doing that. We were putting forward our policy commitments for the first term, and the term of office is up to 5 years while we are in government. Clearly, the phasing of our proposals will take into account the fiscal rules, the priorities that we have, and the situations that unfold and affect the economy going forward. So the question is, how is it to be funded? As you will see in the course of this press conference, we have come up with a series of ideas, some of which would be paid for out of the budget in each year going forward, some of which would be paid for by the agencies which have the responsibility for those particular items. And the totality of the budget cost of our proposals based on our estimates is $23 billion annually. And that would be assuming that everything was rolled out from day one. And that does not include the $11.4 billion, which the law has as ending, the extraction of $11.4 billion from NHT, which the law has ending at the end of this coming fiscal year, so the year ending March 2026, is by law currently the last year that these extraction of resources, annual extraction of resources from NHT is allowed and authorized. So we have assumed that that will not be extended, and in any event, we do not intend to extend it. The government hasn't said what their position on that is. But the society as a whole, I believe, is not in favor of any further extraction of resources from the NHT to fund the budget. So we will be putting an end to that. So how will we pay for the $23 billion of expenditure that our programs aggregate to, and stopping the annual extraction of $11.4 billion from the NHT? First of all, as I've said, we have to comply with the fiscal rules. And the phasing and timing of the implementation of our proposals will be subject to compliance with those things. But it's very important to understand, first of all, that in this year's budget, which is roughly $1.27 trillion, there is $360 billion of what is described as discretionary expenditure. That is expenditure that is decided on by the political directorate based on their priorities and is separate from interest payments, which are always have to be provided for in the budget by the Constitution, and also salaries of public sector workers. So that $360 billion represents the issues that this government has over time decided are important for the nation.
All right, so we've heard it there. He says the things that the opposition announced in the budget debate, the plans that they say they will implement when they next form the government. And he says, look, they're not talking about a fiscal year, they're talking about a term in office. He says, look, roughly that's going to cost about $23 billion. And he says that where the discretionary spending allocation in the government's budget is concerned, the PNP would go through line by line and say, okay, maybe we can take something from here, we can discontinue this, we can repurpose this. And in that way, they'd find the funds necessary, along with the agencies under whose banners some of those plans will be implemented. He says resources are there to help supplement the plans and to cover all attendant costs. That's what the opposition leader, Mark Golding, said. I'm turning now to the president of the powerful private sector organization of Jamaica for some perspective, Metri Siaga. Metri, good evening. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV.
Hi, George. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, man. All right. It is proper that I ask you, having seen the entire budget process, heard from 4 speakers, you heard 5 speeches from 4 speakers. In totality, what did you hear?
I think that I heard a very maturing, a great deal of maturing from our political directorate. I think that both have stated quite clearly that they are not willing to indulge in the past and just fly the gate and let everything run because it's an election year. I think the fiscal responsibility shown by the government is prudent, it is welcomed, and we hope that this becomes the norm in Jamaica. I think that it is a big deal that there are no new taxes. That this, is becoming the norm in Jamaica now. Certainly has been for the last 6 or so years, and that's what we want. We want the government to use their resources more efficiently and more effectively. I think that the budget had snippets of help for various different subsectors, which we are in support of. One of the things that opposition put forward, which I personally am in support of, is tying the minimum wage to inflation. So I think there were good ideas from both parties. I think in general, Jamaica has won. I think that having our budget presentations made the way they were, it's good for our country. And I'm happy with what has been presented.
Yeah. All right. I think the break is upon me. I wanted to ask you something about the MSME Alliance, but I can do that after the break. So hold where you are, Metri. This is Lead Story speaking with the president of the PSOJ about the budget debate, which ended on Tuesday with the closing presentation by the finance minister. More after these.
Only a grand for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio still on the island, we're being told. We're being told also that he's spending the night in Jamaica. And one of my technical team just asked, he was wondering which hotel Senator Rubio is staying at. The answer to that is that he has good choices because Kingston has some very, very good properties, reputable properties at which will the Secretary of State will be comfortable spending a night at. I have the president of the PSOJ with me, Metri Siaga, reflecting on the highlights of the recent budget debate. Metri, much was made about the MSME Alliance and their access to financing, their access to capital, and specifically the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, and the rules it has in place that businesses and business owners must navigate to get access to the lifeblood of capital. The MSME Alliance was saying, listen, it's too onerous. We have to spend too much money up front to get access to the loans. It's almost a disincentive to even think about doing business. The government said one thing at the top of the debate. It didn't find favor with the MSME Alliance. The opposition came and said, look, we would change this and tack on the cost of accessing the loan to the loan, and you pay it at the back end of repaying the loan to remove that impediment. The government heard that and now came back and said, you know what, we're going to roll the fees into one so we remove the obstacle. Yeah. All in all, you would see that as a win for members of the MSME Alliance.
Absolutely. And listen, it is important that, you know, people need to see what they're paying their dues for, and it is things like that. So the MSME Alliance did their job. They told the government that they don't like what they heard, and the wheel and came again. And yeah, we're happy for it. Small businesses are the lifeblood of any country. They employ 80% of the workforce, and that's what we need to look at. We need to allow these companies to be more resilient in what they're doing. And, you know, I'm glad that you mentioned that it's difficult for them to do business. It is difficult for all of us to do business. Small, medium, large, micro, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. The bureaucracy that we are facing in the country is at an unprecedented level, and the government has got to do something about it if they want to get the growth that they so badly speak about. George, to me, it is the most important thing that we have dealing with as a nation. The bureaucratic bungling, the red tape, the bureaucracy that exists to get anything done in this country is now at a level that is stifling us. Yeah. And we're choking as business people. And if we don't get it fixed, we are going to go nowhere, and we're going to go there fast. Yeah. So I am just appealing to the government and to the opposition, whomsoever makes up the next government. It needs to be priority one. I don't know if you noticed, but when people are interviewed now, what is the biggest problem you have? You don't hear about crime anymore.
No.
Crime is down 35%.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of the things that we had as issues are being checked off the list, and that's good, and I applaud the government for it. But we cannot go far until we fix that problem.
So do I hear you saying, Metri, and I'm very happy you went the area of red tape, bureaucracy, because here's the thing. I was saying to myself as I heard the budget speeches, based on how I was taught economics at university, you're taught to listen at budget time for big ideas to spur growth. And I noticed this debate was shorn of ideas for big ideas for growth. So I said to myself, well, maybe then the answer to strong growth or respectable growth, not the 0.5%, 1.1% nonsense that we've been having cycle after cycle, but significant growth. You're talking about 3.5%, 4%, the 5s, the 7s. The key to that, is the key to that not necessarily big ideas in a fiscal year, but the reduction of bureaucracy? Can it be as simple as that?
It absolutely is. Sometimes we're looking for the answer in this grandiose plan, and the grandiose plan has been developed. Things like the Special Economic Zone Authority has spent years developing a very concretized plan to get investors to Jamaica. It is a world-class regime that we have developed here in Jamaica. But we can't get the people in because of the bureaucracy, the red tape. Investments are being held up every day, investments by private sector. And more importantly, you may be surprised to know, investments by public sector.
Yes.
When one agency is trying to get something from another agency and can't get it, and they belong to the same government.
Yes.
What do you expect? What do you expect of the private sector? How can we make it happen? When building approvals and other approvals for, you name it, you just name it, and I will give you 10 cases of companies within my organization that have issues every single day.
So this new minister in charge of efficiency, the former ambassador, well, you're not a former ambassador, you're an ambassador for life. The ambassador, Audrey Marks, who has been put in charge of driving government efficiency and reducing red tape. She perhaps then, Metri, holds, if not the key, one of the important keys to the lock that's frustrating businesses over time.
By George, I would have to say it is the only key right now that is going to unlock the growth that we need, because it's out there. I mean, if you sit at a table of business people, just sit around a table of 20 business people, and you will hear of 60 different investments that are currently being held up because of government bureaucracy and red tape. Mm-hmm. And I use this opportunity to publicly say to Audrey Marks, listen, you have a very important job to do. I am here, the PSOJ is here to help you to make it a reality.
Yeah.
But you can't do it alone, and we certainly have not been able to do it.
And coming out of the debate as well, Metri, to support the point you're making, and that it is not just a private sector problem. The opposition spokesman on finance, well, he said it before the budget debate, but then he made the point even more profound in the debate, Julian Robinson. The several $1 billion in capital expenditure which went unspent over this fiscal year. It's ridiculous that in a country like ours, where we need the projects to drive economic activity, to drive productivity, to drive the growth, that we have upwards of $10 billion going unspent because of bureaucracy from the same government that's trying to spend the money. It's ridiculous.
Bureaucracy, procurement issues. I mean, everybody's afraid to put a foot wrong in procurement. And I get that, I get it loud and clear, because the first thing that we want to do is find somebody, especially oppositions. And I don't mean the current opposition, yes. I mean the opposition party, whether it's GLP or PNP, want to find somebody doing something wrong. But the truth is that people have got to put Jamaica first now.
Yes.
And we've got to realize that the only way that we are going to do it is that a letter that needs to be signed by a head of an agency cannot take a week to go from a desk that is 10 feet away from the other desk.
Yeah.
It just can't happen anymore.
You know, this is such an important point, and I want to just give the viewers an example of bureaucracy at the lowest level. You're talking about it at the high levels, big investment levels. In my experience, I've had the pleasure of working 2 years in government, and I'm going to tell you what happened with a press release. When I just got there, full of enthusiasm, and so I drafted a press statement, a mundane statement, Metri. So I was told that, oh, you can't just send it out like that. So I said, what do you mean? But the manager approved it. They say, no, you have to bring it to the Director of Legal Affairs for him to read it to see if you've libeled anybody. Then you need to go to the Ecosystems branch. Then from the Ecosystems, they send it to the CEO's office. Then the CEO will send it back to the manager and she will pass it on to you. So I said, seriously, for one press release of 5 paragraphs, of 5 sentences? Yes. So I had to physically walk with it, camp out at the legal office, the legal director's office for him to look at it, then run with it to get it out on the same day. I had to turn a courier, Metri, for just as simple a thing as a press release.
And
that's what we're talking about, bureaucracy.
If you're a businessman or woman in Jamaica and you want a letter signed by a head of agency, that's what you have to do. You have to turn courier. You have to walk, and you have to walk with the letter, and then you have to go and friend up a person, get it out their desk, and walk it to the next desk. It's really ridiculous, and it happens at every single stop along the way. I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, we had an ambassador here that highlighted the number of agencies, steps he had to go through to get his driver's license.
Yes.
And I think it was 17 different steps.
Yeah.
This situation of paying in one place and taking the receipt to another place, and this backing and forthing, it is unproductive and it is costing us, and that is why we have a black market, you know.
Absolutely.
Because
so
we are setting up ourselves to circumvent the system.
Absolutely. Out of time. Thank you very much, Metri. All the best to you, and we'll talk again. PSOJ President there, Metri Siaga, talking about bureaucracy. You can describe bureaucracy in one word: stultifying. That's the effect it has on business and economic activity. Anika Lewis is ready to give you the news at 7.
Season 2 of Corner Office. We are highlighting small businesses, hard-working Jamaicans who are doing their own thing in their own spaces. People who are in their role, bossing up their role.
Let's go!
Let's get it! It's not if you own the company or not, it's how you own the role. Ice cream is coming. Guess what? It is your Corner Office. Season 2, bigger and better. And guess what? You don't think it's not yet? Check it out. Put the end of the place. Undercover. Easy yourself.
CVM TV, in association with Express Fitness and Exodus Carnival, presents Fit for Fet, the ultimate workout series to get your body ready for the road. Tune in 5 a.m. every morning, Mondays to Fridays, starting April 7th, to get involved in high-impact workouts by some of the best in the game.
Brought to you by Flow.
Now I'm where I want to be.
Jamaica is on a transformative path, and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and its agencies are leading the way. MEGJC Matrix is back for Season 2, bringing you the latest on the projects shaping our nation's future. Big changes, bold moves. This is the Season 2 of the MEGJC Matrix, driving development, transforming lives.
You can open a Sagicor Bank savings account from anywhere. Go online and open yours today.
The time by Sagicor Bank is
7 o'clock.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrives in Jamaica.
Prime Minister Holness and Rubio forge new path in high-stakes talks. And PNP continues promotion of budget proposals. In living the life, that's hats off to a senior tipping off his experiences. The Business Report explores the new age of investment, while in sports, Reggae Boys secure Gold Cup berth. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Nika Lewis. It's Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Thank you so much for joining us. It's being called strategic diplomacy in motion. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has landed in Jamaica, marking his first visit in the role as Washington seeks to tighten its grip on what it calls the third border. Ramon Gordon was at the Norman Manley International Airport and joins us now.
Good evening, Nika, and a very special good evening to you, our viewers. Security, migration, and the deepening crisis in Haiti topped the agenda today as Jamaica takes center stage in the United States Caribbean policy push. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and fellow CARICOM leaders, calling Jamaica a central pillar in Washington's foreign policy. Here are the details. It's well-coordinated diplomatic theater. For the first time in his official capacity as U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio touched down on Jamaican soil Wednesday to advance the Trump administration's foreign policy interests in a region one U.S. official has described as the United States' third border. The Caribbean is ground zero for a 2-day bilateral mission, with security, immigration, narcotics, and Haiti high on the agenda. We're seeing Cuban-American U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio now greeting Jamaican dignitaries. As we know that this meeting comes at a particularly interesting time amid tensions over Cuba's healthcare program. The CVM News team was at the Norman Manley International Airport earlier to welcome the Secretary of State, though he offered no words to reporters on the ground. Quickly spirited away to the office of the Prime Minister, media personnel caught but a glimpse of America's top diplomat. Jamaica has been described as central to U.S. security efforts in the Caribbean, particularly as it relates to the Trump administration's push for tighter control of American borders. Less aligned are other Caribbean leaders who, in recent weeks, have defended Cuba's decades-old health exchange program against U.S. claims of human trafficking.
If we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the U.S., then so be it.
That's the outspoken Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados, defending the Cuban mission, putting potential U.S. travel in jeopardy, at least according to the threat of visa restrictions leveled by the Trump-directed Rubio. Motley is one of many CARICOM leaders in Jamaica for talks with the Secretary of State. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Thank you so much, Ramon. And I saw the energy, you standing there on the tarmac.
Right.
But many Jamaicans would not know that there's a farewell coming.
Oh.
Also for somebody here too.
Oh.
That's you.
Nika, I didn't know we were doing this live. This is curious.
Yes. But Ramon, we are very appreciative of the services you've rendered to us here. And we're very grateful that you've stuck it out till this moment. And so we're grateful for that. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the Jamaican public before you go?
Thank you for letting me into your households every evening. It's a very hard job. It's one that requires immense sacrifice. I show up every day. Some people describe it as being thankless at times, but the real thanks is knowing that you've played your part in informing somebody of something that they didn't know before. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little teary-eyed because they're putting me on the spot, Jamaica. But what I will say, Nika, is thank you.
You're absolutely welcome, and thank you for your time here. So we say farewell to Ramon Gordon. He's a newscaster here at CVM TV, and he'll always be a part of our family.
Thank you.
All the best.
Take care.
Well, Prime Minister Andrew Holness and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio today held high-level talks around a range of priorities to include border security, crime control, trade, energy and immigration. In his first visit to Jamaica, Secretary Rubio lauded Jamaica's reducing crime rate, clarified how U.S. aid will be directed in future, and dispelled misconceptions around the current wave of deportations. Much was said. Prime Minister Andrew Holness and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Wednesday engaged in pivotal discussions that could redefine Jamaica's trajectory on key issues. From border security to trade, crime control to immigration, the meeting underscored a shared commitment to tackling challenges head-on.
The United States has been instrumental in supporting Jamaica's efforts to bolster its marine domain awareness and intelligence surveillance capabilities, which are crucial in our fight against organized criminal networks. We discussed expanded and repurposing development assistance towards our shared goals, including security. This will exponentially expand our cooperation in fighting lottery scammers, transnational organized crimes, trafficking in guns, and building safer communities.
Secretary Rubio commended Jamaica's declining crime rate, adding this will require the U.S. to revisit how it handles travel advisories, ensuring they depict the reality of the country fairly. He emphasized the U.S.'s continued support in providing resources and training to bolster Jamaica's security apparatus.
How many of the guns and the weapons that are being used by gangs to commit acts of violence here in Jamaica are purchased in the United States and then shipped here, and we want to commit to doing more to stopping that flow at the same time as we do more to commit to increasing your capacity. That's the other thing I underline. What we're talking about here when we talk about American assistance is America helping Jamaica build its own capacity, its own ability to confront these challenges and solve these problems. Because security is a baseline for everything. And to that end, we have some good things to announce today here. We've the Jolt Fusion Center that is starting up again, and that's been even further strengthened. That's going to help address lottery scamming.
Discussions on trade centered on expanding skills training, attracting greater U.S. investments, while acknowledging Jamaica's potential as a regional economic hub.
We certainly have the labor and the population and the desire to do so in our hemisphere. It's closer to the end markets. And so we want to pursue opportunities to make that possible. And clearly, I think Jamaica is one of those places that could benefit. And the Prime Minister has that vision for the country and the creation of not just jobs, but jobs that pay even better than the jobs that maybe some could find now.
Addressing the contentious issue of deportations and fears around some Jamaican green card holders traveling at this time, Rubio sought to dispel misconceptions, adding recent actions were in line with the long-standing policies.
The President is doing something that frankly hasn't been done in a long time. He's enforcing our immigration laws, and that's what we're doing. So if you're a green card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. I think the challenge is for those who are illegally in the United States, we have to have immigration laws. They have to be followed. I mean, I don't know why that's an unreasonable demand. And frankly, I mean, Jamaica is not a major source of illegal migration, to be frank. It's not even in the top 10 or top 20, for that matter, I don't think.
Meanwhile, talks also emerged about the political turmoil impacting Haiti.
We agreed that we must do everything we can to stabilize the security situation in Haiti so that they are better able to build capacity and address their political and humanitarian challenges.
The discussions concluded with talks of more regional travels and meetings later Wednesday with Caribbean leaders, including Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley and Trinidad and Tobago's newly minted Prime Minister Stuart Young. Meantime, claims that Jamaica has been hit by a wave of repatriation of Cuban medical doctors ahead of the Marco Rubio visit have been clarified. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says much of the allegations are false. This after Rubio reasons Jamaica's partnership with the Cuba Medical Mission appears to be above board and commended the government on their arrangement.
Reports of Cuban medical doctors being sent home en masse had sparked concerns about the future of Jamaica's healthcare system, which relies heavily on the expertise of these professionals. Critics suggested the move was politically motivated, tied to Secretary Rubio's visit and his known stance on Cuba's labor export programs. However, on Wednesday, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton injected a dose of clarity.
This is not correct, the assumption that because of the visit of Secretary of State Rubio, Cubans are heading back. The reality is that the mission allows for medical professionals to come for a period. As it turns out, and maybe coincidentally, this period has now come to an end for a number of them. And so a number will go back for others to come. In some instances, extensions are granted, but it's granted up to a particular point. The other coincidence, if you will, that is taking place is that currently we are renegotiating the MOU with the Cuban government. So there is a conversation that is taking place, looking at the existing MOU, looking at the possibilities for change.
The Cuban medical mission has been a lifeline for Jamaica, filling critical gaps in the healthcare system, with scores of Cuban doctors, nurses and technicians currently serving in the country. The minister assures the arrangements here are at internationally accepted standards.
We have also maintained that the Cuban program has been very beneficial to us. We have seen hundreds, if not thousands, coming to Jamaica and providing valuable service in our health space. And we have also said that in terms of our treatment of the Cubans who come, it has been no different from our treatment of our locals, except for any additional support based on the fact that they are not local. So transportation, logistics, housing, and so on, which we would provide for any expatriate that would come here working in the government space. So as of now, nothing changes.
And during his visit, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio lauded Jamaica's handling of the Cuban medical mission, describing it as above board and a model of ethical cooperation. He dispelled misconceptions about U.S. opposition to the program, reasoning Jamaica's approach aligns with international labor standards.
I think we can all agree that the trafficking in labor, be they doctors or farm workers, is not something that we would want to be supportive of, and we find that to be an egregious practice on the part of the Cuban regime. Now, every country operates their program differently. And obviously, because of our relationship with Jamaica, we're going to engage with them on that and talk about it further and have a better understanding. Perhaps none of this applies in the way it's handled here, but generally, that's the problem with the program. It's not that they're Cuban doctors. It's that the regime does not pay these doctors, takes away their passports, and basically it is, in many ways, forced labor. And that we cannot be in support of. Again, not speaking about here in particular, but in general about the program.
Trisha G. Kelly, CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues in just a moment. CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of...
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor.
For women standing tall and strong, Sagicor celebrates International Women's Day all month long. For her day, her deals. 7,500 bonus points on new Sagicor Bank credit cards. Special rates on auto loans and mortgages. Discounted trading fees from Sagicor Investments. A free dash cam or tire inflator with Ultimate Woman Auto Insurance from Advantage General Insurance. Plus, tailored products like our Sagicor Life Total Woman Life Insurance Plan. Accelerate action towards financial empowerment. Call 888-SAGICOR. Conditions apply.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. The T-Tag system reduces the amount of cash handled at our toll plazas and makes it safer for our staff and motorists at the toll booths. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Live life your way, no reward. Digital postpaid. With Digital postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bill else to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win exciting prizes, event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now. With Digicel, better connected.
Welcome back. The budget debates may have wrapped up, but the People's National Party, PNP, is making a case for its own $23 billion spending plan. The opposition says its proposals focused on education, small business, support, and social welfare. And those are both affordable, they say, and necessary. However, the government has dismissed those figures, calling them unrealistic. Courtney Lewis has the details.
The budget debates are over, but not the argument about how the opposition will fund the plans it has put forward. Yesterday, while closing the debate, Finance Minister Favour Williams priced the opposition's offerings at $48 billion. A day later, the PNP has dismissed that projection, calling it political gimmickry.
So this whole nonsense, I can only call it nonsense, that our proposals are not credible, that our proposals cannot be financed. This idea of a FinSAC, which is just a bogeyman being raised by the Minister of Finance for political purposes, that is all nonsense, not no so.
Instead, the opposition said it would cost taxpayers less than half of what the finance minister projected. At a media briefing on Wednesday, PNP President Mark Golding says the projection is only a small fraction of the government's $1.27 trillion budget.
Through the total for that is $22.6 billion. And if you round that up for conservative purposes, that's $23 billion. It's the aggregate cost of the budget of the measures that we have outlined. And that is out of a budget currently of $1.27 trillion. And therefore a percentage of only 1.8% of the total budget to do with all these things that we think are important.
Golding says the party would reallocate the government's $360 billion discretionary fund to support their proposals. The opposition spokesperson on finance estimates $1 billion in tax waivers for small businesses, far less than the finance minister's projected $1.4 billion.
Even though you're not paying corporate income tax, when you're in the formal system, you'll be contributing to GCT, you're employing people, your payroll tax. There are a number of other benefits to companies coming into that formal system. And we believe this incentive is important to encourage businesses, MSMEs, to come into the formal system.
The PNP also proposed $18.7 billion. That's $400 per meal to serve over 200,000 students for the school year. And for the goal of 1 degree per household, the phased expenditure is expected to serve 1 in every 4 persons matriculating to tertiary education.
The total annual cost of all first-generation students across the year cohorts, therefore, is approximately $3.9 billion and not $31 billion has been posited by the minister.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Monday's gun attack in the vicinity of the Malines Road and Washington Boulevard has escalated with new findings reported by the St. Andrews South Police Division. Shante McNeil has the details.
So following the attack, which left 1 man dead and another injured, the police have reportedly seized a firearm believed to be linked to the incident. As police piece together the events leading up to the attack, they are now exploring possible gang connection. I have more in this report.
Investigations into Monday's shooting along Malines Road in St. Andrew, which resulted in the death of 29-year-old mechanic identified as Whitliff Riley, otherwise called Shane, have taken a step forward. So far, the St. Andrew South Police are theorizing that Shane's ambush, which left another man injured, was a gang-related attack, noting that the deceased is alleged to have been a member of the Top Marvelly gang in the parish. On Tuesday morning, the division's search team carried out further investigations at the deceased home, including his car. The probe led to several finds.
The same victim of the murder on Monday, we went to his house, recovered some rounds, some 34 rounds, 35.57, 5.56, and 4 9mm rounds. The car that he was driving at the time when he was murdered, it was searched by our search team, and a Taurus pistol with 17 rounds was taken from it. So in terms of immediacy of confirmed information, that is much so, which really concretized our intelligence that indicated that he's a member of the top Marley gang.
Advancements into the exact perpetrators behind the crime are still at the sensitive stage, according to the police. However, investigators believe Riley's attack was orchestrated by the Lower Marley gang. Both gangs have reportedly been engaged in an ongoing feud. On Monday, Riley was sitting in traffic at the intersection of Mollines Road and Washington Boulevard when gunmen on motorbike rode up and opened fire from both sides of his vehicle, hitting him multiple times in the upper body. Another driver, turning on Washington Boulevard onto Mollines Road, was shot in the face. A third motorist, a woman in a Kia, escaped injury despite bullets piercing her car. Both injured men were rushed to the Kingston Public Hospital. Authorities are urging anyone with information to call Crime Stop at 311, the police emergency line at 119, or the nearest police station. Shante McNeil, CVM News.
And this bit just in, we understand that returning resident advocate Percival Latouche has died. We'll have more details on that later on or in subsequent newscasts. Continuing the news now, residents of Bamboo River in St. Thomas are frustrated about the state of the bridge giving access in and out of their community, along with drain issues. Councillor for the Morant Bay Division, Rosemary Shaw, is urging Member of Parliament for Eastern St. Thomas, Dr. Michelle Charles, to use constituency funds appropriately.
I'm appealing to the Member of Parliament, do not wait for NWA. What happened to the funding that you're getting as a Member of Parliament? You have the Constituency Development Fund and you have other funds. Right? Just look at this community and protect the lives and property of these people. And also, it also poses a health risk. So we need something to be done urgently.
And with that, we take a break. More in a moment.
Jamaica, it reach! Introducing the Mother's Rewards app. The same mother's food you love, now at your fingertips. Sign up easy and get a free patty. Earn points whenever you visit any select Mother's location and redeem those same points for discounts later on. Order your favorites for pickup or delivery. No long lines. Plus, win daily to win prizes and discounts. Yes, daily chances to win. No need for say nothing more. Download the Mother's Rewards app now. Mothers, loving every bite.
The Bureau of Standards Jamaica is your conformance testing partner with over 54 years of serving Jamaican businesses. Our world-class lab testing services ensure the safety of your food and commodities that you take to market. We are positioned as a business enabler, driving business development, competitiveness, trade, and ensuring consumer safety. We have 5 times the capacity to test over other local labs, plus 10 labs with accredited tests and calibration. We set the standard that promotes safety to consumers in a number of industries, including food processing, agriculture, and construction, having tested over 57,000 products on average annually and growing.
Hi, my name is Welton Gooden, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bureau of Standards. Let us take your products from lab to market.
Welcome back. It's hats off to the senior we have been featuring for the past 2 weeks. While guarded, he tells how he is rising above personal decisions, which became easier to accept over the decades with maturity. As Carlin Brown concludes her conversation with him for living the life, he leaves some tips.
Living the life defies time and laws.
Who is this person?
That's me, Carlton McLaren, Father Mac, when I was in my late 20s.
Look like a face boy, man.
Yeah, I was. And still is.
Beneath his whimsical personality, a love-hate fury could have ruined the looks had it not been for his signature accessories still eye-catching.
Hat saved my life. When I was married, I lived up Guysill. I had a reading a book, The Patriarchs and Prophet. Big thick book. And something simple happened. Something simple happened by talking, you know. The time I used to live in a rent house up there. And I sit on the veranda, reading, turn my back. After we finished talking, I have nothing. I'm over here, one lady said, Father Mac. I look round, so the same lady, that kettle boiling water coming to my ears. And when they jump up, he say, what? The boiling water come and just run down to me, so. And she took off. So from that, every time the hat can left my head.
Interestingly though, Father Mac, you are telling us something about relationships as it pertains to you. What's your advice to young men at this time as it goes with women and
right? Try investigate technically who you're talking to, who you want to get serious with. These times you can't run about money too hard. You have 2, 3, 4 women and you have to give them something. You know, you come to nothing. No care how much you have. And if you give somebody a gift, a different, more you boast how much money you have, try investigate the person and the person's background.
But lessons on relationships aren't the only nuggets Carlton McLaren wants to pass to young men. The owner of the first hardware store in Decoy since 1995, now scaled down due to competition, travels and other commitments, such as preaching the gospel, has health tips too.
When I was younger, I got prostrate 20 odd years ago. Yeah? And I tell them that, see some people and hear them say this, that, and then now if they're afraid they might lose their liquor sex. They say, you got that. They say, you did quicker than you expect.
He's the greatest and the best daddy, father, everything. I couldn't ask for better than that. For 92 years.
It's well, let me check your head.
I'm Carlin Brown for Living the Life, CVM News. Living the life defies time and laws.
And before the break, we're joined by Jordan Fort for a look at what's ahead in sports.
Well, Nika, swimming stakeholders are upset this evening because they say they've been barred from accessing the aquatics facility at the National Stadium because of Champs.
Oh.
So, Champs is in the heights, so bad news for swimmers. Plus, of course, the Reggae Boys taking that crucial win against St. Vincent and the Grenadines last night at Sabina Park. I'll have the details of that.
All right. Thank you so much. And with that, we take this break.
standing tall and strong, Sagicor celebrates International Women's Day all month long. For her day, her deals. 7,500 bonus points on new Sagicor Bank credit cards. Special rates on auto loans and mortgages. Discounted trading fees from Sagicor Investments. A free dash cam or tire inflator with Ultimate Woman Auto Insurance from Advantage General Insurance. Plus, tailored products like our Sagicor Life Total Woman Life Insurance Plan. Accelerate action towards financial empowerment. Call 888-SAGICOR. Conditions apply.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Calvin?
Yes, miss.
I need you to go to the Transport Authority for me today to renew all the motor vehicle road licenses. I can't afford for you to spend all day at the Transport Authority. I have a lot of errands for you to run for me today.
Miss, you don't hear them say I can renew online any day, anytime, easy.
No, but that sounds good. What do I need to do?
You can always log on to ta.org.jm.
Oh, that means we have a lot more time for you to run other errands.
Boy, miss.
Let me check it out. Easy as 1, 2, 3.
Thanks so much for staying with us. Now to the business report with Joel Crossgill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today about the age of investment in the era of artificial intelligence, as the first awards ceremony for the primary and preparatory schools virtual stock market game challenged assumptions and conventions, whilst exciting the imaginations of a new generation of potential investors and how gamification techniques are preparing them to get in the real game.
My name is Isabella, your virtual AI speaker, and I am immensely delighted to virtually inaugurate this ceremony to such an esteemed assembly, united by a common goal, to usher in a new era of educational excellence. Today marks a significant milestone in our journey to redefine the educational landscape. With the theme, Empowering Young Minds Through AI-Driven Education.
It's a concept that has found favour with the Ministry of Education, whose Deputy Chief Education Officer, Winnie Berry, highlighted the potential benefits to be gained from the incorporation of AI into the learning methods of students across various areas of study.
AI-driven platforms such as Wisdom CRM are revolutionizing how students interact with financial concepts, making learning more interactive, data-driven, and student-centered. With the continued support of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, we will continue to work together to prepare our children for the future by providing them with the 21st century skill sets needed to thrive in an AI-driven world.
Managing Director Marlene Street Forest and Andre Gooden, Group Business Development Manager at the Jamaica Stock Exchange, whose evangelism of the JSC's operations continue to reach new and diverse demographics, admits that the new tool for learning provided by Wisdom CRM in offering a virtual stock market game where students manage real-time virtual investment portfolios with a virtual $10,000 budget has taken its ambitions towards financial literacy to places previously undreamed of.
This tool will really be important, not just to teach financial literacy, but to teach generally. The youngsters have a knack for the technology, and not all of us learn the same way. Some of us are visual, some are, audio, some are kinesthetic, etc., etc. I don't know where this one fits. This is between video, audio, and kinesthetic. It's everything. So you develop a learning tool that can appeal to everybody.
You know, some of the times when I remember when I was young, we never knew anything about stock market. Even when I was
teenager, even in my 20s, I said, what is this? But now we're ensuring that you know all about this thing. Yes, you are with your peers in the United States and Canada and Trinidad and all of those places. You can say, I did it too.
And not just participate, but also make a profit, as the overall winner, Khalil Hutchinson, a student of Avondale Preparatory School, who was number 1 among 575 students enrolled in the competition from February 17 to March 17, with $10,851 US from his original $10,000 stake recounts.
I have over $1,000 now, actually, instead of $800, because I invested yesterday and reached over $1,000 in profit. When I first joined, I had no clue what I was doing. I was just clicking on stuff. But after I played for like a week, I understand the game, and I just started investing in large companies like Netflix and Tesla. I invested in multiple of them so I can earn more profit than the usual. And remember, if it's going down, you sell it. If it's going up, you buy it. Always remember that. You need to always remember that. Well, one more thing, don't ever give up and always stay on your routine, because you don't want to come off that routine and then start losing money.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
He's very inspiring, isn't he? Well, it's now time for a glance at social media. So, let's have a look at what you've been saying in the comments on social media today. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio clarified that concerns about Cuban medical missions stem from labor standard breaches, specifically non-payment of doctors. He plans to meet with Jamaican leaders to get a better understanding of how the doctors are treated in the country. Here are some of your reactions. At Warren Forsyth writes, I think I need to hear from the Cuban doctors themselves. At Davian Morrison shares, U.S. cripples the country with sanctions and wishes to stop any way for them to earn, dictating how their country should be run. At Anne-Marie Patterson Powell posts, why doesn't he busy himself with the affairs of the United States? When did America become concerned about people getting paid? At Orlando Mitchell adds, shake my head. Want to keep someone in check? Take away the lifelines they have other than you. At Warren Young comments, the people that were taken from Africa were never paid and were forced to work. Start there. At Tracia Black says, go home, Marco. You have other things to worry about with classified messages leaking out. And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM Television on Facebook. I'm Courtney Lewis.